Trump piece. So we'll chat with him in the 9 o'clock hour, and we'll squeeze in as many phone calls as we possibly can. I have one agenda here in the opening segment. One topic I'd like to talk about: Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Does the First Amendment of the United States of America protect your right to discriminate? The Supreme Court is going to hear oral arguments in a case that maybe will open the door widely to businesses being allowed to violate anti-discrimination laws. If the court rules that the First Amendment protects the right of business owners to discriminate based on claims of freedom of speech or free exercise of religion, civil rights laws banning discrimination on the basis of race, sex, religion, sexual orientation will be severely weakened everywhere in the country. That's from a piece that popped in the Current. The case before the court involves Lori Smith, a graphic artist, a web designer. She wants to design websites for weddings, but she refuses to do the same for same-sex weddings because of her religious beliefs. Now, Colorado law prohibits businesses that sell or offer services to the public from discriminating based on disability, race, creed, color, sexual orientation, marital status, national origin, or ancestry. The law also prohibits businesses from displaying a notice that it indicates that that the full and equal employment of the goods or services will be refused based on a protected characteristic. So in other words, you can't put a sign up that says you don't want to do that either. The district court and the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 10th Circuit rejected her claim and upheld the Colorado's anti-discrimination law. The appeals court stressed that the government has a compelling interest in preventing discrimination based on sexual orientation and protecting the dignity interests of marginalized groups and in their ability to access the commercial marketplace. The Supreme Court granted review, but interestingly, only on the free speech issue, not on the question concerning the free exercise of religion. So they're not taking it up on a religious basis, they're taking it up on a free speech basis, which I think makes it incredibly interesting. Smith argues that the Colorado law compels her speech by requiring that she design websites for same-sex couples. But the state argues that it is regulating conduct, prohibiting discriminatory conduct, and only incidentally affecting Smith's speech. So she doesn't want to do it because she thinks it infringes on her free speech. The state of Colorado says, no, you have to do it because that's a protected class and you have to acquiesce and bend over backwards, pardon the pun, to accommodate. It's the same question, even the same Colorado law that the court reviewed in the 2018 case, Masterpiece Cake Shop versus the Colorado Civil Rights Commission. In that case, a baker refused to design and bake cakes for same-sex weddings, and a majority opinion by the justice, majority opinion, the court decided that the case in favor of the baker on narrow grounds without deciding the broader question of whether someone's claims to free speech or free exercise of religion could be the basis for an exemption from anti-discrimination laws. What will be the consequences if the court rules in favor of Smith? There is no reason why such new First Amendment exemptions would limit anyone to sexual orientation. Those who want to discriminate against others based on race, sex, or religion could simply raise a First Amendment defense And this would seemingly extend to the laws prohibiting discrimination in all contexts, such as employment and housing. So if, in fact, that paragraph's according to the Hartford Courant, who obviously the writer of this is in favor of the court going against Smith in this case. So individuals could claim an exemption from state and or federal laws prohibiting employment discrimination. Again, an employer who's basing this on religious beliefs thinks that men and women should not be in the same workplace. He could refuse to hire a woman or a man, for that matter. A landlord with religious objections to interracial marriages could refuse to rent apartments to interracial couples, although I don't know of any religious standing that would hold about interracial marriage, but maybe I'm not an avid reader of that, so maybe I'm wrong. But my question to all this, as we get into this, again, does the First Amendment protect your right to discriminate? With all of the avenues today that people have to push back against authority, right? To push back against what they feel is a wrongdoing, or if it's some kind of discrimination. Social media, the dozens of social media outlets that you can push back on. I feel like even if this were to pass, and even if this doomsday scenario were to take place, like the author of this piece would say, I feel like none of, or very rarely, would you get situations based on law where people would not be able to, let's say, rent an apartment or get a job. You want to talk about just discrimination. We all know it goes on to a certain extent, still to this day. But to the level that it went on 40 years ago, 50 years ago, it's not even close. It's not even close. And even in my lifetime, things like interracial marriage or same-sex marriages, or couples, nobody cares about this anymore, right? Okay, so this woman doesn't want to design your website because that's her religious belief. Go to another one, right? Go to another website. Chances are, even if she were to do it for you, forced into doing it for you, would it be the quality that you would want or expect? Why would you want somebody who doesn't want to do something for you, or doesn't want to be your, let's say, your caterer, or your bartender, or your designer? Why would you want them to do it anyway? Why would you want to try to force somebody to do that? The question is liberty and equality. Any law that prohibits discrimination limits the freedom to discriminate. And the question is, do we have a constitutional right to discriminate? And that word discriminate, maybe, is a very gray area word. Do I have to like you? Does the Constitution force me to like you? I don't think so. Does the Constitution make me like you because of the color of your skin? Well, it seems like it's trying to do that. Now, I don't know what the answer is here. I'm not sure. But I don't think you can, well, for decades, the Supreme Court has been clear that stopping discrimination is more important than protecting the freedom to discriminate. So in your mind, I'm asking you, what's more important? Your absolute unabridged ability for free speech and free thought, or the protection of certain classes and the protection to not discriminate against those classes? My argument here, and again, I don't have an answer, but my argument would be we've leapt forward eons in a mere matter of decades when it comes to where we were to where we are as far as relationships, right? The old guard of anti-everything, the discriminatory guard, they're fading away into the sunset. And these protected classes are becoming way more mainstream. So we've moved into this insanity of wokeness. Pronouns, perversions in classrooms. You can't legislate somebody's feelings. You can't make somebody feel a certain way. You can't legislate morality. If someone is just a jerk, they're going to be a jerk. But what should be legal? I mean, are these groups still marginalized? Are they? Not in my world, but maybe they are in yours. I'm sure anybody out there who is a progressive listening to me is rolling their eyes and saying that I'm crazy. You can't legislate somebody to feel a certain way against a certain group of people. Can't do it. Can't legislate or regulate thought. And to me, you can't force somebody to do something. You can't force somebody to build a website for somebody else. And I'm not even sure that that person has to give a reason. Just for argument's sake, if you had a website designer who refused to build websites for black folks, it's a horrible thought, right? But if that were the case, we have so many different outlets where everyone could know that that person has decided, because of their bigotry towards folks of color, not to build their websites. Well, if I heard about that and they were the greatest website designer in the world, I wouldn't go to them. I don't want to give my money to somebody who's a bigot and a racist. I don't feel like they would survive in today's world. The strength of the collective is more powerful than bigotry. It will wear it away. It's already doing it. It's done it for the last 50 years. Now, it may have been slow going for a long time for us to get here. And you can look back at the history of the country, and yes, there are certainly some very sad and dark times. But man, there's definitely light at the end of that tunnel. I mean, we're actually basking in that light now. I think we're out of that tunnel. And the question is, should we have a right to discriminate? I'm not sure if you can force somebody to feel a certain way. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. Okay, no religion. Or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Or abridging the freedoms of speech. Or of the press, or of the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Do you want to live in a country where the government tells you what to do and what to think? I don't. I would rather live in a country where the people figure out how to remove those, or make it incredibly difficult for those who live a life of bigotry to survive. But I would rather have that person be able to speak, because it's not the speech that I agree with that should be protected, it's the speech that I disagree with. It's that open exchange of thought.